That's it.
Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about the differences between an Atmos and a G5 pin. Earlier we did a video for the Atmos versus the Atmos Junior and it got a very positive response, so I wanted to do a very similar video for you guys this time. Now before we take a look at the devices, let's talk about the differences just overall. A G5 pin is very similar to an Atmos pin. They both do the same thing. They can both handle wax, dry herbs, and if you don't put too much in at once, they can handle oil. And you can also get the cartridges to handle oil, the clearimizers to do that a little bit better. Now, the first main difference is a G5 pin is like an unbranded Atmos pin. And because of that, there are a few key things to keep in mind. First, the price is going to be lower overall. That's in brick and mortar stores, online, eBay. It's usually going to be a lower price for a G5 pin because, again, it doesn't carry the brand name of Atmos. But with that, you have to keep in mind there's going to be quality control issues. Whereas Atmos is the owner of their own pin, they can go around making sure, if there's fakes out there or counterfeits, they can shut those sellers down. They do their own quality control testing, and if you're buying from an authorized reseller, you can get that same guaranteed quality. With G5 pins, on the other hand, there's no real company policing their quality of the product. You may get a great pin from one seller, but a lower quality pin from a different seller, and there's no real way to know for sure what kind of pin you're going to get. And unless the retailers have a great relationship with their suppliers, they're kind of not going to know the quality of the pins themselves until they get them. Now, I'm not saying G5 pins are bad. I have a few myself and they work really well. Just overall, it's going to be more of a problem getting the consistent quality throughout the market than an Atmos pin. The same things can happen if you buy Atmos pins from people who are not authorized resellers. So it's always best, whether you're buying from eBay, online, brick and mortar stores, try to make sure that the person is an authorized reseller or just buy from Atmos directly. And of course, I wouldn't be saying that if we at the Vape store were not authorized resellers who work directly with Atmos to sell our pins. But enough shameless plugs. Let's take a look at the devices. We have the Atmos here on the left and we have the G5 pin on the right. You can see how similar these two are, but the first thing you're probably going to notice is the G5 pin is a lot longer than the Atmos pin. Now this is because the G5 pins come with this LCD screen down here at the bottom. So let's talk about that first. The LCD screen, I think there might be a common misconception that its purpose is for some sort of functionality. Really what it does, it lights up and it tells you how much battery power is left, and then it also tells you how many puffs you've made on this current charge. So each time you press it, it's going to show one more click there for the puff. So, the real benefit of this, I'm not so sure. You can count the puffs, and I guess that's kind of cool to have just in the back of your head, that knowledge. I guess the real thing is seeing the battery life that's left. It's very convenient. If you're on the go, if you have low battery, you need to charge it before you go out, or, if you have very high battery, you can take it out and be pretty good for the day. Now all of the pieces and parts are mostly the same. There's going to be a rubber mouth piece on both of them. There are ceramic filters inside, metal filters. The chamber's made of ceramic. But let's talk about the heating coils. Remember, I'll try to keep this consistent. So let's have Atmos on the left, G5 on the right. If I heat them both up, let's just take a look first. So the Atmos heating up here, and then the G5 pin here. Now this is what I usually notice, is that the G5 pins, they take a little bit longer to heat up and they don't seem to get quite as hot. Again, just take another look for yourself and you'll see, they both are, they're both getting hot, but the Atmos just looks a little bit brighter. Now, in my experience, that's not going to be too big of a deal for you. If you're using these things with herbs, wax, or liquids or oils, you don't need a very hot chamber to get the results you're looking for. So I wouldn't really knock the G5 pin for having less heat. It's just a fact of the pins I've seen. And speaking of using these things with dry herbs, the glass screens that work with the Atmos are going to fit exactly inside the chamber of the G5 pin. So if you're looking to get those, don't worry if you're using a G5 pin or an Atmos. Now the last thing I want to point out is the batteries here. Same, battery life for both of them, but the threading is unique on the Atmos pin. Atmos doesn't really have the same 510 threading as the G5 pin. So what that real takeaway for that is, the G5 pin battery is going to be compatible with most of your other e-cig devices. So it's kind of nice to have a backup battery when you buy a different device. The Atmos, you have to have an adapter for this threading to work with the other devices. So, I mean, that's one thing to keep in mind. But again, if you mostly buy Atmos products, then the Atmos battery will be interchangeable with all of those, whereas your G5 batteries will not. So just keep that in mind. And the same thing goes for the chargers, the USB adapters. The Atmos really needs an Atmos charger to fully connect, and G5 pins will work with other 510 thread connections. So that's basically it. As always, thank you for watching. Let us know in the comments if you have any requests for different videos in the future. You know, we read through all the comments, we respond to everyone. And as always, check out the Vape Vet store, and see you next time.